Hello everybody, my name is Aceface. Welcome back to the vast universe of EVE Online. I woke up about 1.5 hours ago and I am feeling very refreshed because I have a day off. I've slept about 10 hours. I've been having so many hard working days, very long hours. Now finally I've just randomly got a day off. So now I feel very well rested and it feels very appropriate to talk a little bit about EVE Online, namely one of these new updates that have kind of come out and is going to be gradually released now. It is the new Quadrant that's come out. So the quadrant that's come out now is called Rain, and the way it works actually when it comes to these quadrants is you can think of like this: every quadrant of a year, like 1/4 of a year, every 3 months, a big update comes out. It's kind of to signify a new theme. So the last one was that Phoenix quadrant, if I recall correctly. That Phoenix quadrant had a lot to do with how do you say? It focused a lot on those super carriers being able to respawn stuff. That was a big theme of the quadrant. This quadrant is a bit different. It focuses mainly on fleets. So fleets is the main theme of this quadrant. There's always kind of a theme. Even before the Phoenix quadrant, there was the quadrant about like invasions, eclipse, the invasions like coming to different levels, like becoming more prominent or becoming starting. They all kind of have a general theme. This is focused on fleets. Fleets is something that I am rarely used to doing because I'm mainly playing solo in a high sec, but it still seems pretty cool because many of these things that you can actually have in this quadrant seem like something that I would have expected to see in EVE Online a long time ago, but now we actually are seeing them. But first off, I wanted to just show you something here. We've got this fleet up thing here. So here you can kind of find new fleets, and it's kind of an improved window to be able to find fleets. You can see here you can find jumps away, fleet activity. It's kind of cool actually. The previous fleet finder was not that great actually. It seemed really old and outdated. It was just one of these basic menus, like one of these journal. It looked like it was this kind of menu. It was looking very basic. Now we've got it in the modern and new or sleek agency window. So everything is linked here. And it's kind of interesting how they're making everything being interlinked with the agency. I remember the agency a long time ago. It did not really... It didn't feel right, but they made some update. I think it was about a year or so ago that made it actually now worth using. It's quite. I actually do myself use this. Otherwise, before, like a couple of years ago, I remember the agency was kind of just like a gimmick. It was just I may as well just use these buttons here to access the things. But now, actually, I feel like the agency actually is very helpful. It's just quickly you just click fleet up and you just find something here. Now you got all these different things like missions, encounters, escalations, etc, etc, etc. Okay, so we got the new the fleet finder here. It looks pretty cool, but there's also something that I think there's even more cool. So the reason I'm undocked right here is because we're going to go through one of these stargates and check out the new jump animation. There is a new jump animation, and this is actually a kind of effect that has been actually here for a while. It's not a completely new thing. This was, I think it was released in the summer, but there were some glitches with it. The thing that happened was that there's going to be, you'll see now, there's going to be a cool animation when we go through the jump gate. And what happened was before, the animation was taking too long. So it was kind of making people who want to go through gates just taking way too long to get through to the next. It was messing with people who were like, I think it was messing with people because I'm not a big PvP nerd, but it was like making so that people who, I think it was making so that people who had to go through gates very quickly for like PvP reasons, they were having problems, and that's why it was actually removed. So it was actually existed for, I think it was like a day or so, and then it was actually removed. And just before we jump through it, I want to show you guys also something here. Look at this. See that? Jita is my home station. And you can see it's got this nice icon here. I think that looks really cool. Something that CCP has in general been doing with this update is making home stations a bit more like chill. So let's just go through this update. Ooh, you see that? Drake going through the warp tunnel. I think it looks really cool. Okay, let's just go to some of these mobile depots. Just chill over here. The different... Well, we can actually just go through the warp gate again, actually. Just take a look at that warp animation because it looks so good. Let's go. Activate the MWD. The home stations have been changed slightly here. Like, no, it's not drastically, but they're kind of made to be a bit more user-friendly, you could say. So the price of setting home stations has actually been removed. You don't have to pay anything to be able to change your home station. You used to have to pay that 100,000 ISK payment to be able to do that. Now you don't anymore. And I think that's very good. Not for me, because that really does not matter. I'm not trying to brag that I'm like rich or anything, but to most players in EVE, 100,000 ISK does not mean anything. The thing I am thinking is that for new players, because I remember when I was a complete new player, like really, really new, like we're talking like maybe a week old, it was a bit annoying to give 100,000 ISK just to stay at your home station. And I remember what I would do is I would go around to different stations. I was like, oh, this is going to be my home station. Oh, this is going to be my home station. And I ended up using quite a bit of ISK because I couldn't really decide which place to settle up. So I like that they removed that, because mainly for the new bros, I think it'll be quite convenient. For me, it really doesn't matter. They've also made it so that the items you get, because we get a lot of actually items in our inventory. You see that? We get a lot of items in our inventory. Like we get this, for example, these boosters all the time, and all these kind of different various items in our redeem queue. Now we've got this button here to redeem items to the particular home station you've got. And this is, I mean, this is a very small change. Not at all a big one, but it's a very welcomed one in my opinion, because this is like something that I've so many times wanted to be able to do. I've got something that I want to just redeem. I don't like seeing all these numbers here. I'm really far out in low sec, or you know, wormhole space, or null sec, or something like that, and I want to redeem it to Jita, because that's where I store all my items. I wanted to just keep all the stuff here, and that will be very useful, because now I can just redeem everything to my current station, or just directly to my home station, which I could have done here. Like here, when we're out in space, we can just redeem all the items to home station. But I mean, you hit this booster, there's no really point of doing that. And there's a lot of noise now, actually, from all the murmurs outside of the Jita station. So we're going to just do a little bit of undock again. The Drakey doesn't like noisy environments. He likes to be all in this quiet place. Okay, so that's it. We've got the mainly fleet stuff and the jump animation stuff. But then this is kind of a thing that's been teased. So it's not a thing that is like going to be released now with this update, but it's a thing that's going to be teased. And that is that these kind of fleet formations are going to be added. So you know when you warp as a fleet, then it previously has been kind of a ball of ships. It's just been distributing all the ships in the ball. But now you'll actually soon at least be able to have like a fleet formation when you actually warp. And I'll show you right here actually, because there's this video that CCP released. So you can see here, you got these eagles, and then now they're going in a fleet formation like this. It looks really cool, actually, I have to say. That's something I thought that would have been in EVE Online a long time ago. I think it's like, it feels like a kind of basic thing, like, oh, shouldn't we be able to make a formation like that? But you see, oh, look these Megathrons just going, oh yeah, that looks really good. It reminds me a bit, this one here. It reminds me a bit of that monument in the Mars space, where you can see all these like these ships like aligned like in a big grid like this. I think that looks really cool. It makes them actually feel a bit more majestic as well, because if everything is cluttered in a ball, it doesn't make your fleet feel that big. But if it's spread out really large like this, it'll make your fleet feel really big. So we've got these kind of fleet formations, at least, that is going to come out. They haven't come out right now. It's going to come out soon. These are the main things actually that have been changing during this update, and while they are cool, I'm going to now tell my verdict here. Now, I often like the updates that CCP releases. Usually I actually am pretty like hyped about them, but this one, I'm going to be completely honest, I don't think, I'm not too impressed with this quadrant. Now, while I mean that these things are cool, like we've got this fleet finder, you've got these soon-to-be fleet formation things that kind of came out. These home station things are really cool, and we've also just got in general some quality of life improvements that I don't need to go over, but they have been released. I just think this update doesn't have so much substance. There isn't much to this update that actually like really changes anything in the game. We already had a fleet finder, we already are able to warp in fleets. It's just stuff looks cooler, and I think that is really good. I think it's good that stuff looks cooler, but if this should have been for an entire quadrant, I don't really think so. That's because nothing's changed really to the game. Because before the quadrants, what they would be like really game-changing changes. Like the main thing was during the invasion, actually, where the invasions where you can like these big regions of space getting taken over. That was game-changing stuff. This it doesn't to me feel much like it will be worthy of a quadrant. I would have thought this would be actually in an individual update that has been just released, not as like a whole theme of a quadrant, because that's what the whole theme here of this quadrant is. You can see this, all these fleets here. That's the whole theme. Is it? Maybe there's stuff they're going to release that they haven't announced, but I don't want to assume that and just be like, oh, hopefully they'll release something good. I'm just going out of what I see now, and I'm not really like impressed in that. I think that this is what I would have expected from a quadrant. And something that I think is kind of not so good to also do this is that since this is not a massively game-changing, like this is really cool. I don't at all dislike these animations. I think they're really good. The CCP adds them, but when we get these changes that are not particularly like advancing the game, then I think it kind of diminishes the value of the name of Quadrant. Because before, I've always thought of the oh, there's a lot of orange people here. I hope they don't go for me. Nah, I don't think they'll go for me. But I've always thought of the name Quadrant and these quadrants they're releasing. Always thought of them to be like a very game-changing update. The invasion, the Phoenix one even sort of wasn't so game-changing, but it still was pretty big. With those carrier changes and a bunch of other stuff that they released. This, it feels like more like almost like a not bug fix, but like a small intermediate update that should have been put in between. That feels like now when I think of Quadrant, I'm not going to think of, oh, it's going to be a massively game-changing update. Like this kind of update, this rain Quadrant has kind of reduced the oomph or the impact of the name Quadrant, because I always thought Quadrant means like a really big update, but this doesn't seem like, I'm sure CCP put a lot of work behind these fleet changes and these fleet formation things, but to me this doesn't seem to be like a really impactful update that I would deem worthy of the name of like a whole dedicated to a whole quadrant. And now I will think less of when I hear a new quadrant is out, because before I was always thinking that, oh, new quadrant out, wow, new stuff's gonna go out. Now I don't think it's gonna be I mean, maybe the next quadrant will be really game changing, who knows. But what I'm saying is this doesn't give a good name for these quadrant updates that CCP has been adding. This is just my opinion, though. You can feel free to disagree. Obviously, CCP has put a lot of work into their game, but me personally, I'm not particularly impressed and a bit disappointed with the kind of substance or the amount of actual meat on the quadrant update. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. Just make sure that you guys are civil, because I do not like it when people start arguments with each other in the comments about these hot topics. I can imagine a lot of people are like really hoping for something big to be changed, and that there has been affecting their area of gameplay, and it did not happen, and people can get very angry about that. I at least noticed that's the case on the EVE Online Reddit. Okay. So I think that's enough for now. Though the Rain Quadrant is out, mainly focuses on fleets in different ways. So fleet formations, new fleet finder, and some quality of life improvements, as well as these jump animations and home station changes. To me, it does not seem like an update with much substance, but it is nonetheless very cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video right here. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.